Hello, I'm Tim Searle. I've worked in animation for many years and I've always enjoyed my visits to Sheffield for the CMC. It's always fun to go to the sessions, think, see old friends and meet brilliant new people. One thing I particularly love about the CMC are the keynotes. You never know what you're going to get, but over the years I've come to trust it'll be good. This one from Chris Riddell was really great. Chris Riddell is an illustrator, an occasional writer of children's books, a political cartoonist, and at this time he was the Children's Laureate. This is from 2016, just a few days after the Brexit referendum, which was a surprise for everyone. Many were in a state of shock, and it had been the subject of loads of conversations in the days leading up to that event. Chris sat and drew as he spoke. It's a masterclass in how to do a talk. He delivered some very serious points in such a disarmingly calm and funny way. It certainly never felt like a lecture. Chris set the tone as he was introduced by drawing a self-portrait. His achievements were listed, including receiving a gold Blue Peter badge. He then put it on his lapel to the delight of the audience.
My goodness, I've never been applauded for wearing a badge before. It's just fantastic. This can only go to my head. It's terrible. When I became Children's Laureate, my very good friend Heike, who comes from Germany, was very excited. And she rushed up to me, gave me a great big hug and said, "Chris, I've just found out that you've become Children's Laundrette." Such a lovely moment. And so now all my friends refer to me as the Children's Laundrette, which actually sort of helps with the head sort of swelling. So it is wonderful to be here, and what I would like to do is talk to you a little bit about sort of my experiences, where I've come from creatively, show some pictures, and do some drawing. I do enjoy these machines, these visualizers where you can draw. I'm never going to become a hand model. I think that much is clear. But that said, with a charcoal pencil, I can draw as I talk, hopefully. I'd like to tell you a bit about the sort of year I've been having, and then I want to talk about sketchbooks and how cathartic sketchbooks can be. And I'm going to speak with feeling. I didn't know I was going to do this until last Thursday. Anyway.
I'm in animation, how could I not be a fan of drawing? I know it's something to work at and keep doing daily. I've employed people on the strength of their sketchbooks. It's a skill and a discipline which I understand and admire deeply. Chris is a very skilled artist who works at his craft and makes it look easy. It wasn't just his drawing, but Chris's presentation style. The way I remember it, he was sat drawing more or less throughout. It's funny how the memory works. I must have been so caught up in it. He sat there at his visualizer thingy, a camera with a light set up over the top of its table, but he also moved to a PowerPoint slideshow, really seamlessly.
So this is a little story. Now this works very well with year threes. So bear with me. Now this is a true story. This is the true story about why I decided to become an illustrator. My dad was a vicar, so every Sunday I had to go to church. I think that's part of canon law, I think. My father's sermons were very, very long. So to keep me quiet, my mum gave me these. I think it's very important to talk to your year threes about what these are. It's not a video game. It doesn't require batteries, doesn't need to be recharged. Bit of pencil sharpening, maybe, occasionally. But these are the most magical tools in the world, pencil and paper. While my dad talked about loving thy neighbour and peace on earth, I was drawing pictures of castles on fire and knights getting their heads chopped off. It was great fun. Yeah. And my best friend in church was Mrs. Stock. She was about 103. And my mother said to me just the other day, she said, "Chris, you know that story you tell about Mrs. Stock in church?" I said, yes. She said, "I just worked out that actually back then, in the mid-60s, Mrs. Stock was probably the age you are now." I'm 54. Thank you. Mrs. Stock kept a small leather purse in her handbag, and during the sermon she'd take it out and quietly unzip it and give me wine gums. Very, very profound experience. Proustian, I might say. In return, at the end of the service, I gave Mrs. Stock my drawing, however inappropriate. It was a deal we had. It was just something we did together. It was great. It was then that I decided what I wanted to do when I grew up. I wanted to draw pictures and be given wine gums. True story. True story. I was at my local bookshop on Saturday. A little girl called Mabel came up. She reached into her pocket. She was very, very pleased, and she handed me a tube of wine gums. It was lovely, mate. So my plan is working. I do work for wine gums. It's true.
Chris was refreshingly honest about his relationship with technology. I'm a similar vintage, and it's something I can completely relate to. A digital native I ain't.
My wife, Princess Joanna of Norfolk, washed my jeans. I didn't ask her to. I'd actually left them very, very carefully, put away on the bedroom carpet. And she washed them. She washed my jeans. And she came into the studio, at the bottom of the garden. She said, I thought for a minute that washing machine was broken. And I thought, oh, no, just one of those boring things. She said, no, it's okay. It was making this weird clunking sound. I turned it off. I took your jeans out. I said, I didn't ask you to wash my jeans. She said, I took your jeans out. I looked in the pocket, and you'd left your mobile phone in the pocket. I said, I didn't ask you to wash my jeans. We had one of those conversations. It wasn't pretty. Anyway, I phoned up my mobile phone provider, and I think I'm in this very particular sort of price band. It's the middle-aged man who doesn't understand technology price band. And I phoned up and said, my wife washed my phone. And they said, oh, then no problem, so we'll send you a new phone, the very latest phone, immediately. And I said, really? And they said, oh, yes, you were due an update about 4 years ago. I said, was I? Yes, no problem. And literally, I put the phone down, and there was a knock on the door. There was a man with the very latest phone, the very latest magic phone. And, I stood there looking at it thinking, my goodness. It struck me that the phone that my wife had washed was what is technically called a stupid phone. Because what I was holding was a smartphone. Never had a smart, just extraordinary thing, with all amazing Apple's finest, I was looking at this thing. And then my daughter Katie sort of walked past and she said, oh, Dad, that's a nice phone. And I got that feeling of, yeah, it's very cool. Now what do I do with it? And she said, oh, well, Dad, and she just took me on hand. She's very sweet. She said, well, you can like load apps onto it. I said, what are apps? And she said, well, I'll show you, Dad. You can do that. I said, you can use Instagram. I said, what's Instagram? She said, oh, it's this. And she showed me this amazing thing. And then she said, and then you can link it to Facebook. I said, I don't go on Facebook. That's not. I said, well, you could if you just threw it. I said, really? She said, yeah. And then you can go on Tumblr. I said, what the earth is Tumblr? But anyway, she set this thing up. So I could just, through a click of the button, I could take a photo of something and it would appear in these other places. So she set it all up, and I thought it would be rude not to just try it out. So I got my sketchbook out, just a little sketchbook. I always keep one on me. Here's my current one. And I just sort of opened it at a random page. Let's have a look. Just a random page. And I just sort of took my phone, just did a little snap on my phone. And it went to these places. And then I forgot about it. And then the next day, I went to Facebook. I don't use Facebook very often, but I thought I'd see what happens. So I went to Facebook, and someone, somewhere in the world, someone who I'm never going to meet, had sent me a big blue thumb with like underneath it. And I got this warm, fuzzy feeling, just filled up. I thought, oh, that's nice. So I went immediately and took another photo and posted that up, and then someone sent me 2 blue thumbs. And then I sort of did another one, and then I became, basically, I just trolled the internet for blue thumbs. I was lost from that moment on. And I discovered this amazing thing called social media.
I've had to do a few talks over the years, and I was really amused by Chris's recollection of dealing with the toughest crowd of all.
This audience terrifies me. They are 3-year-olds. Three-year-olds with that inscrutability that 3-year-olds have. They just look at you, and you don't know what they're thinking. And I went along to my play group. I walked into the situation. I thought, I'm in trouble here. I'm in big trouble, just all these little... And then you start to have a conversation. You say, hello, my name's Chris Riddell. And then all these little sort of people start having their own personal conversation directly back at you. So you're having like sort of 10 conversations all at once, simultaneously. It's extraordinary. And I'd arrived at this playgroup armed with the most amazing thing, a book by Michael Rosen called A Great Big Cuddle. And it's a book of poetry for the very young. I opened this book, I started to read the poems, and they all just stopped their individual conversations and just looked at me. And then they giggled in the right place. And then they laughed at another place. And then I read another poem, and they all made the noises in the poem alongside me. I thought, this book has transformed me into the best nursery school teacher in the world. It's fantastic. I was brilliant as I went through reading Michael's poems. They couldn't lay a glove on me. It was brilliant. Had them in the back, closed the book, it all started up again. It was terrible, Magic, absolutely poetry magic.
Then Chris got into his feelings about the referendum. Gently visceral, flipping fantastic.
I was booked to go up to talk to the National Association for Teaching English at Stratford-upon-Avon on Saturday, and I woke up on Friday thinking, what just happened? What just happened? I went to bed, and the bookies were all saying we were still in Europe, and I woke up and we were out. I thought, what happened? And so then I had to sort of get on a train and travel up, rather mournfully, up Stratford-upon-Avon, and I had my sketchbook with me. This was my laureate log entry the day before, thinking, oh my goodness. And then I thought, right, I'm going to try and make myself feel a little better using my sketchbook. And this is the thing I always say about sketchbooks, that they're wonderful. Sort of, drawing it's a meditation, it's a catharsis, it's a way of thinking about ideas, thinking things through visually. It's a lovely medium. So I thought, right, I'm feeling miserable. I'm going to try and sort of, channel some of those feelings. Black Friday, yes, oh no. And it's amazing what you find. This comes from, this was quoted in the Financial Times in a letter. I think this is a very interesting quote. We now live in a post-factual democracy. When the facts met the myths, they were as useless as bullets bouncing off the bodies of aliens in an H.G. Wells novel. When Michael Gove said the British people are sick of experts, he was right. But can anybody tell me the last time a prevailing culture of anti-intellectualism has led to anything other than bigotry? It felt nice to draw that. Another laureate log, this was my entry, a heavy heart eased by the enlightened folk at the National Association of Teaching English Conference. And it was a joyful thing. It was a joyful thing to be able to arrive and show them my sketchbook and talk about this, because I think so many of us in the creative industries know that we have suffered a calamity. And we can't, I suppose, be, it's going to take time. It's going to take time to process this. It's going to take time to think about it through properly. It's going to take time to think about how we talk to the younger generation about it. So, no 350 million for the NHS then. Funny that. I saw that bus, but apparently that was completely wrong. Completely wrong. That bit in The Lord of the Rings when the orcs take control of the Shire. I know. That does have a happy ending. Maybe. Come on. The new Churchill. I loved one of the things posted on Facebook. I loved this. It was that press conference that the two of them gave. Boris Johnson, well, three, because Gisela Stewart was there. But anyway, these two, sort of Gove and Johnson got up, and then someone had done this little sort of line underneath it, and it's a little sort of conversation. One saying, "Take control of our country." No, you take control. No, you take control. You touched it last. Rise up and save our children's future. Send in the clowns, don't bother, they're here. I love the fact he's still taking his European salary. That's great, isn't it? I love that. And then I felt it was one of these odd things. And again, social media, this is part of, in a sense, maybe making connections, the way that we can sort of, sometimes vent our feelings, sometimes, feel. This was just a sort of diary entry. I mean, I keep a work log and whatever, and this was a diary entry, and I just sort of copied it out and posted it up. The dust of Thursday's disaster is still settling like a shroud over everything decent and forward-looking in this country. The internal politics of the Tory party have wrecked the future of generations to come, and the bigots and xenophobes are trying not to crow as they urge unity and calm. The false prospectus of the Leave campaign is unravelling in front of horrified and embarrassed onlookers, and the markets are going to crucify the lot of us on Monday morning. Well, thank goodness that's not quite happened, but it could yet. I'm going to the bottom of my garden to draw and write stories and try not to think about it all for a while. Then perhaps we can begin the process of thinking again about this self-induced right-wing calamity. Meanwhile, a carnival of political grotesques dance across our screens, pretending that their lies have not been laid bare and continuing their contrived rictus of statesmanship amid the hollow cheers and growing boos. Thank you. Thank you.
And when drawing live answers in the Q&A at the end, Chris gave his judgment on what the future holds.
What does the future look like?
What does the future look like? My goodness.
Good luck.
That's great.
Brilliant.
It'll all be all right in the end, won't it? I'm sure. And I think that's what, I suppose, as creative people, we've got to believe that. We've got to go forward, and we've got to keep writing stories. We've got to keep making great sort of films and TV programs and getting stories out there and, delivering the good stuff. We can't let the current sort of crop of politicians shape our future any more than they're going to. So, yes, let's keep strong and keep creative.
I left Chris Riddell's session inspired. I promised myself to start carrying a sketchbook and start using it again. I managed to do it for a few weeks, but then I got too busy and back into making excuses for why I'd start again tomorrow. I can't believe that was 2016. I will start back with regular drawing soon. Thanks for watching. I've been Tim Searle, and that was Chris Riddell, the Children's Laundrette.